There's a reason why people are drawn to those who walk away, why a woman who once seemed distant suddenly reappears when you step back. It's not magic, it's not manipulation, it's power, the power of detachment. You see, the greatest strength lies not in pursuit, but in letting go. When you give her distance, you're doing more than just walking away. You're allowing the ancient philosophy of Stoicism to shape the way you live, breathe, and control your emotions. But here's the truth. She doesn't come back because you played some clever game. She comes back because in your absence, you've transformed into something unshakable, untouchable, and undeniably powerful. Before we dive deep into the heart of why this happens, let me remind you, if you're ready to embrace a life of control, fortitude, and freedom from the chaos of emotions, hit the subscribe button and join us on this journey. Stay through the end, because what you're about to learn will not only change your relationships, but also transform the way you see yourself forever. The Art of Detachment. Let's start with a simple truth. You don't own anyone. You don't control their actions, their emotions, or their decisions. And when you attempt to, you lose the very thing that makes you strong, your peace of mind. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing we truly have control over is ourselves, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said it best. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you give her distance, you are not simply pulling away from her. You are pulling away from the need to control anything outside of yourself. This isn't easy though, is it? When emotions are involved, the human instinct is to grasp tighter, to hold on for dear life. You may think that by keeping her close, you are protecting what you have, but in reality, you are doing the opposite. By suffocating a relationship with neediness, you are allowing your emotions to control you. Stoicism urges us to conquer these destructive impulses by mastering ourselves. When you create distance, you are not pushing her away. You are creating space for growth, both hers and yours. In this space, something powerful happens. She begins to sense that you are no longer the same person who was driven by impulse, by desperation, or by fear. You are now grounded in reason, and reason is irresistibly attractive. Marcus Aurelius, in his personal meditations, constantly reminded himself that external events do not disturb us, but our interpretation of them does. When you choose to detach and give distance, you are practicing a key Stoic principle, that external things, whether it's her attention or affection, should not dictate your internal peace. By letting go, you reclaim your personal power. You become someone who is no longer enslaved by emotion, someone who operates on a higher plane of self-control and fortitude. And here's the paradox. The very moment you let go is the moment she starts to notice you again. Why? Because you are no longer reacting. You are acting from a place of inner strength, and that strength speaks louder than any words or actions ever could. She feels the shift. The energy changes. She's drawn back, not because of any manipulation on your part, but because you have redefined yourself. The dark truth about attachment. Attachment is a disease of the mind. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, taught that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And what do we waste most of our time on? Desperation. Desperation to hold on to someone, desperation to maintain control, desperation to avoid the silence of being alone. But here's the truth that Stoicism drives home. Desperation destroys. When you cling to someone, whether it's a woman or any other aspect of life, You are letting fear drive you. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of being alone. This fear creates a suffocating energy that repels rather than attracts. The more you cling, the more you push her away. Why? Because no one wants to be held down by the weight of another person's insecurity. When you act out of desperation, you betray yourself. You hand over your power, your dignity, and your self-control to someone else. You stop being the master of your own life. The Stoics understood that attachment leads to suffering. It's a form of slavery, a mental and emotional chain that binds you to the outcome of events and people's actions. You become a prisoner of your own emotions, and in this state you cannot act with clarity or wisdom. Epictetus reminded us, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are." When you give her distance, you are practicing this core principle of Stoicism, accepting what is, without attachment to the outcome. Distance is your chance to reclaim yourself. It's your opportunity to detach from the need for validation, approval, or attention. When you give her space, you're telling the universe that you don't need external things to define your internal worth. And when you do this, something remarkable happens. You become free. You stop living in reaction to her actions. You stop being swayed by her moods, her absence, or her words. You stand firm in your own sense of self. This is what true freedom looks like, and it is deeply attractive to those around you. In this freedom, you find strength, and in that strength, she finds you again, not as the person who was desperately chasing after her, but as someone who has transcended desperation, who has become whole within himself. She comes back, not because you wanted her to, but because you no longer need her to. The paradox is undeniable. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you become someone worth chasing. Embracing solitude. In Stoicism, solitude is not a curse, it is a gift. The modern world has trained us to believe that being alone is something to be feared, something to escape from. But the Stoics knew better. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled with both power and wisdom, found his greatest strength in moments of solitude. He would retreat into himself, not to escape the world, but to understand it. In those quiet moments, free from the noise of the world, he would reflect, learn, and grow. This is where real transformation happens, in the space we create between ourselves and others. When you give her distance, you are not just giving her space, you are embracing the solitude that allows you to become stronger. In solitude, you confront the parts of yourself that you often hide, the fears, the insecurities, the doubts. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." And in those quiet moments, you learn what it means to live fully, not dependent on the presence of another person, but fully within yourself. This is not about becoming cold or detached from emotion. No, the Stoic does not reject feelings. He acknowledges them, but he does not let them control him. When you step back, you give yourself the time to feel without reacting, to observe your emotions, understand them, and then choose how to act. This is where true mastery begins, not in suppressing your emotions, but in understanding and controlling them. In this solitude, you realize something profound. You are enough. You do not need her to complete you. You do not need her to validate your worth. You are whole as you are. This is the essence of Stoicism, the understanding that everything you need is already within you. As Marcus Aurelius once reflected, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." This is where your true power lies, in the quiet strength of knowing that you are your own greatest source of peace. And when she comes back, It will not be to the man who was once consumed by need. She will return to the man who has found peace in solitude, who has learned to walk through the world with strength, clarity, and purpose. She will return, not because of any game you played, but because in your absence you have become someone unshakable. Someone who no longer needs to be pursued, but who is worthy of pursuit. The unshakable mind. Confidence is not something you can fake, not for long. It is not an act you can put on to impress someone, because sooner or later the cracks will show. True confidence comes from within, and it is built through the daily practice of mastering your mind and emotions. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew that the man who can control his mind is the man who can control his destiny. When you give her distance, you are not just creating physical space. You are building the mental and emotional resilience that makes you unstoppable. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that mastery begins in the moments of silence, in the moments where you choose not to react, not to chase, not to fall into the trap of neediness. You choose instead to focus on yourself, to grow, to strengthen, to evolve. This kind of confidence is not loud. It doesn't need to be. It is a quiet, unshakable force that draws people in without effort. When you stop chasing after her, you stop broadcasting insecurity. You stop sending out the signal that you are incomplete without her. Instead, you project strength, independence, and purpose. And here's the truth. Nothing is more attractive than a man who knows his own value, a man who walks through the world with a sense of calm, inner confidence that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. She feels this shift, even if she can't quite put it into words. When you give her distance, you are no longer fighting for her attention. You are simply living your life, building yourself into someone who is solid, focused, and grounded. This is where the real power lies, not in forcing her to see you, but in becoming someone who cannot be ignored. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." By stepping back and embracing Stoicism, you begin to live, not for her, but for yourself.